The following content is supported by victoris.org.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Chen Hao and I'm here today with Ning Sing and I'm going to be teaching her Introduction to Coding. This podcast is supported by victoris.org and you can access the link to the slides over here at tinyurl.com/codingpodcast. So Ning Sing, you're completely new to coding, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you want to explain to the viewer why you want to learn coding?
I thought it's quite important skill to have.
Okay. Yeah, certainly nowadays coding is an important skill in whatever field you're working in. Okay, so the goal of this lesson is to introduce coding to people with completely no background. So if the viewer, if you want to follow along, it's also good to pull out your laptop and follow along. So here's the agenda for the first lesson. We're gonna start with Python. We're gonna do variables and input. And then after that, we're actually going to try to use the skills we learned to make a simple counter app. You know, at a mall, when people walk by, you have this counter, right? We're going to make a digital version of that using only these two, only the lessons, the skills from the first lesson, as well as a BMI calculator. So we have a website that takes in people's height and weight. Yeah. And okay, so why do we start with Python, right? Python, so what you need to understand about programming is that actually, most of programming is about logic, about thinking how you can break down a problem into a series of steps into an algorithm to solve it. And the logic is the same across all programs, across all programming languages. The logic is the same across all programming languages. So we start with Python because Python, there's something known as the syntax. It's much easier to learn. You don't have to deal with weird symbols like curly brackets and like curly brackets in other languages. So what is programming in general? It's a sequence of procedures for the computer. I'll show you what it means later on. So if I can invite you, you have the slides open, right? You can click on this link.
Okay.
So if you go over there, so the viewer at home can also follow along. If you go to this Replit, right, over here we'll be typing our first few lines of Python code. On the right side, we'll be typing on the right side mainly. Okay. So if not, I've prepared a Kahoot quiz. Okay, I've prepared a Kahoot quiz. Okay, so later there'll be questions along the way, and for each question, I want you to type out the code in the question.
Huh?
Yeah.
So copy.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So your screen is recorded, right?
Yeah.
So okay. Okay, yeah. Then let's begin. Okay, so we'll be touching on the first concept of Python, which is variables, and namely we'll be doing numbers, how variables can store numbers first. Okay, so what I want you to do, right? Don't panic. There's 240 seconds, 4 minutes for you to type out. So okay, you have opened the website already, right? When you'll be typing code on the right hand side over here, and when you're ready, you can just press I'm done. Yeah, any one of them.
Type out code.
No, you can just don't need to type code. Just press one of the options. This for the students to prepare. Yeah, okay, so let's begin. So let's try creating our first variable in Python. So type out, you see the code over here, go to the right hand side and type out, okay? And so over here, after you type x equals to 5, you press enter. Then next line, you type print x.
Need spacing now, don't need.
No need spacing.
Okay.
And when you see the output, right, tell me what you see and choose the correct option.
Output. What's output?
Output is what you see at the screen. So when you type this, press enter. After you type print x, press enter.
Then run.
No need press run, just press enter. Do you see something? Okay, so what?
5.
So then you choose the option 5. Yeah, and that's correct. Okay, so what have we done over here? Okay, so this is a workflow lah. That's how we're gonna go about using Kahoot. So what you have just done is you have just created your first variable in Python. So what is a variable in coding or in Python? So you know variables in math, right? You have x being an unknown value, then you have an equation like this, and then you do some arithmetic to it, and then you say the solution to this equation is x equals minus 1. You have solved for x, right? But I want you to ditch this notion of variables in math because in coding, variables is completely different, right? In coding, variables are containers of information and they can change along the way. So what you have done in the first line, you have created a variable with the name of x, right? You can name variables anything you want, and you have assigned it the value of 5. Then later you type print x. Print x would print the value of x. So what I want you to think of variables is, I want you to think of them as containers. They are containers of information. Think of it as a cardboard box with the label x on top of it. When you type x equals to 5, you're taking the cardboard box, writing x on the cardboard box, opening it up, taking 5, put in the cardboard box. Then whenever you access x in future, right, you are taking the contents of the cardboard box, dumping it out, and in this case, you're printing the contents of the variable x to the screen, the value of the variable x, you see 5. Make sense? Okay, great. So that's the first concept in variables. Okay, so yeah, so just continue from there.
3.
Yeah, 3, right? So you already know the answer. If you're sure of the answer, then you don't need to type it out. Yeah, it's only if you're unsure, then you can type it out. Okay, so so what we've just done just now, we've created a variable called y and assigned it the value of 3, right? So when we print it out, you see 3. Okay, so over here, let's talk about variable names. So you can name the variables anything you want. Just now you created one called x, just now you created one called y, right? But you can create a variable called score and set it equals to 5. That the name of the variable in this case is score. How about the next line? So if you want a variable name, can you have spaces in your variable names? The answer is no. The variable name must be one word without any spaces. Okay, so in this case, if you want to basically have a space, the convention for programming is to use an underscore to denote the space. So writing on the right hand side, if I write high score with a space, right, equals to 5, it's going to tell me invalid syntax. It's telling me that this is code that the computer cannot understand. But if I write high underscore score equals to 5, then I've just created a variable with the name of high underscore score. Okay? Makes sense? Yeah. So these are just variable names. And another thing to note, variable names are also case sensitive, meaning that high score with a capital S is a different variable from high score with a small s. So you see over here, high score with a small s is 20, right? High score with a big S is 10. If I print high score with a small s, I get 20. High score with a big S, I get 10. So the takeaway from here is that variable names can be anything, but they must be one word, right? And they are case sensitive. Any questions?
I think my screen different from yours.
Oh, like over here. Maybe you want to show me? Oh, that's okay, that's okay. Then you just write on the right hand side. You know where to write, right? On the
right hand side?
Yeah. Or where do you type it just now?
This side.
Oh, okay, that works too. Okay. Actually, you see the arrow over here, right? Write it on the right hand side for now. I'll talk about the left hand side more later.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we've written some code, right? So every time you write code over here and you press enter, is a command to the computer. It's one instruction to the computer. So I want you to understand that concept first before we move on to the left hand side. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so once again, write it on the right hand side. So go over here. So it'll be y equals to 3, right? Then you type y equals to 3, press enter, print y, enter, then you follow along. Okay? Yeah.
How does the enter thing work?
Okay.
Like, so the whole thing is one code.
Then
you enter.
So just now you've written these two, right? On the right hand side. So now I've written these two already. So the next line will be y equals to 4.15. So I write y equals to 4.15, and then I write print y, and I press enter. Then tell me what the output is going to be.
Okay.
You want to show me if you're not sure?
Done already.
Done. So can you know the answer? Okay, good. So you see 4.15 appear, right? So rightfully, if I press enter, we see 4.15. So what's the takeaway from this part is that just now we created a variable y with the value of 3. Then as we print y, we see 3 naturally. Then we write y equals to 4.15. So what we've just done is we've overridden the previous value of y. So when we write y equals to 4.15, what it does is it takes the variable y, right, the cardboard box, dumps out whatever it previously had, puts in a new value, 4.15, into the cardboard box. Okay, the 4.15 has replaced the 3 or whatever previous value it was. Okay, so the lesson from here is that variables can change in value, and it's important that to know that variables can change in value. Okay. Okay, so just another, this probably, yeah, you got it. Okay, so variables change in value, and now, okay, so now type the following 3 lines out. Okay, awesome. So you see 11, right? So what's happening over here? So in math, if we wrote the second line in math, it wouldn't make sense, right? Because there's no value or score that satisfies the equation, right? But this to note that this is an important point to, this is an important example to illustrate the difference between coding and math. In math, the second line wouldn't make sense, but in coding, it makes complete sense. So what's happening is that score equals to 1, score is the value of 1. Then we write score equals to score plus 10. So what the right hand side, first it evaluated the value of score, which is 1, plus 10, which is 11. So the right hand side of the equal sign is 11, right? So effectively, second line is saying score equals to 11. So we've incremented the value of score by 10, right? And we print score, we see 11. So yeah, so in math, the equal sign is an assertion that the left hand side must equal the right hand side, right? You find the value and stuff, and we solve for it. But in coding, the equal sign is not an assertion. The equal sign is saying is a reassignment of a value to a variable. So in coding, the equal sign, whenever you have an equal sign, a single equal sign, the left hand side must be a variable name, and the right hand side must be a value. In this case, the value of was 11, score plus 10. So once again, this is just to make sure that you understand the concept.
11 minus 4 equals to 7.
Yeah, awesome. So you understand the concept of reassigning. Okay. Okay, so once again, previous value of score was 11. We decrement it by 4, we get 7. Okay.
Ooh.
So try writing the following code out and tell me what you get.
Error.
You get error, right? So yeah. So why is there an error? Can you maybe want to give a guess?
It doesn't look like it has a command.
Okay, so remember when I say an equal sign, right? When I have an equal sign, the left hand side must be a variable name. It must be a variable. X plus 1 is not a variable. X plus 1 is a value, right? So that's why we cannot assign x plus 1 any value. The left hand side must be a variable name. So once again, this is another example where this thing would make sense in math, but it doesn't make sense in coding. Okay, so equal sign in coding is different from equal sign in math. Can? Okay, great. So I believe there's another one of these type of questions. Yeah.
So it's error also.
Yep. I just have these to make sure that people understand. Okay, so error. Yeah. Okay, great. So, so what's going on over here? We have created a variable A, assign a value of 3, create a variable B, assign a value of 2, C equals to A plus B, which is 3 plus 2, which is 5, print C, 5. Easy? Okay. Okay, so if you're unsure, remember to type it out. Okay, you got it?
Wrong.
Wrong, right? Okay, so what do? You put 3, right? Okay. So let's inspect what it means. Okay, so C, when I print the value of C, why do we still see 5? Haven't I believe your thought process is we set A to equals to 1. So since C is A plus B, right? then it's 1 plus 2, which is 3, right? But so what's going on over here is that when we set C equals to A plus B, it is not a formula for C. It is an assignment of the value on the right hand side to the variable on the left hand side. So C was 5. Okay, up to this line, up till the first print C statement, C was 5, right? Then we reassign A a new value. But did we say C equals to A plus B again? No, right? C still had a value of 5. So another example to drive home the point that it's not a formula for C, it's an assignment of a new value to C. Okay? If we wanted C to be 3, then over here we need to write C equals to A plus B. So each one of these lines, each time you press enter, is an instruction to the computer to do something. In this case, it's an instruction to the computer to store a value in C. Over here, even though A changed, we didn't tell the computer to update the value of C. Okay? Yeah. So with these examples, that's the main concept behind variables. So now you can do arithmetic with variables. Yeah, go ahead and drink if you want. So you can do division, right? 10 divided by 2, 5. You can do the order of operations still apply, similar to math. You can do multiplication, and you have to find the remainder, use the percent sign. In coding, that means remainder. Okay? So you can do arithmetic with variables. And okay, so we are at the end of the Kahoot, right? So let's just do some simple true or false statements. Okay, true. Variables store information. And okay, awesome. And lastly, okay, great. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the Kahoot. Okay, so yay! Okay, so why is variables useful in coding? It's because variables store information, right? And so imagine, okay, so previously, okay, so why is variables in coding useful? It's because for example, we have a game, right, that stores the game needs to find a way to store the score of the player, to keep track of the score, right? As you're playing the game, the score increases. So that's why we use a variable to keep track of the score information. Okay, so variables are containers of information. Yeah. Okay, then if not, let's take a short break, a lunch break, and then we'll resume with more coding exercises later. Okay.